Thank you.
Okay, so this was the syllabus which I have got, and we have come up to this module 6 presentation skill, where we started discussing about how to discuss, how to open a presentation and how to make a conclusion with grace. Okay, so the presentation, when we are making the opening part and the conclusion part, this is where we have stopped in our last session. So from here we are going to pick up. But before that, if we have any question from the last discussion sessions, please feel free to ask. Any question, please? Any question, please? From our last sessions, anything which needs to be clarified, which needs to be re-explained, you can ask me. No? Okay, sure. Right. So let me just quickly come to this point where we have started talking about introduction of the speech or presentation in our last session. And we said that introduction becomes very crucial point because all said and done, when a presenter talks about any presentation topic or when a trainer gives any training, basically the audience needs to be connected. And at the first place, the connection can happen if and only if the introduction starts in a right note. And when we talk about starting the introduction of the presentation or any training session in a right note, it does not, however, mean that there has to be only one way of doing that. There will be various different ways to do it. For example, we can start talking about obtaining the audience attention and attentiveness. You can start sharing the objective of the speech. You can discuss about a few points about the content of the training or the presentation, which will establish the credential of the trainer or the presenter. So the audience will understand that, okay, what this particular communicator is talking about, he is confident or she is confident about it, and he and she is aware about what he's talking about or she's talking about. Therefore, the audience will be able to pay more attention because they know that there will be certain value addition if they listen to the presentation. Okay, and then of course the purpose of the listening has to be very clearly mentioned, that what is in it for the audience, what the audience are going to get out of it, that also needs to be mentioned. And then finally, the central idea of what we are going to discuss in our session. There we have already mentioned in our earlier sessions how audience becomes a very, very crucial, important role. Audience plays a very crucial role, and why we should take the audience analysis into consideration, that we have discussed in several times. So I just skip this portion out in case anybody does not remember it. Please tell me and I'll explain once again. After this, the next point is conclusion of a speech or concluding a training session or any presentation. There, once again, we have to make it very clear that what we intended to do, then the significant points what we have already covered during the presentation, that needs to be mentioned. And then when we are concluding, there are several ways of having a powerful conclusion. For example, we can actually pose a challenge or extend a challenge to the audience by saying that if anybody has any counter argument, please ask the question or please ask for clarification. You can ask for any helping hand from the audience, that is, please, if you have understood everything, can you please share your thought. You can also end up a discussion with a quotation. Okay, you can summarize what you have discussed. If it is a presentation or a session on certain action to be taken in future, you can end up the discussion by saying that, okay, at the end of the session, I'm requesting you all to please pay attention to what I have discussed. And it will be really nice if you can start thinking about it with a positive note and start taking certain action about it. Any inspirational talk also, if you want to give at the end, like, without your support and help and your encouragement, management will be not able to achieve the target what has been set, and etc etc. Okay, or you can even give some advice. I know these things seem to be very theoretical, so what I intend to do, I'm going to give you a situation, right? And then you have to take few minutes time to think about that situation, and then tell me, if you were in the position as a trainer or a presenter to in front of the audience, how you are going to start the topic, that is the introduction, and how you will be concluding that particular session. Okay, so let us think about a situation, and let's see from our experience how we can actually come up with some powerful intro and nice conclusion. Okay, so let's say our situation is like that. We are working in company, in your respective companies, whichever company or university or institute that would be. Just imagine that particular situation itself, and think that some employees were working from home, some employees were working partially work from home, some employees were going to the office at a regular level. This was the situation. Now the management has taken a conscious decision that there will be a new branch to be opened up in another city, and some employees are going to be shifted to that particular branch. That means shifting will happen to another city. Of course, the management, based on the entitlement of the respective employees, the management will definitely take care of the reimbursement of the cost and expenditure, etc. But there has to be some shift, some relocation of some employees. And the management wants you to actually put forth this particular proposition to the group of employees. Okay, that's a very basic, vague situation. I want you to think about your organization, your institute, your university situation, and think how you are going to begin your proposition and how you are going to conclude. You can think, you can imagine, because based on your situation, naturally there will be certain parameters which are going to be unique, which you need to discuss during your presentation. So let's see how we can do that. We are actually proposing, we are giving the proposal in front of a group of employees, the key employees, where we are saying that some people have to be relocating to another city, and the management is going to be reimbursing, of course, the expenditure, but relocation has to happen to some employees, not all, by the way. Okay, so let's see what are the parameters you are thinking of to begin with, to include in the intro, and to end with in the conclusion part. If anybody has any question or any doubt in this assignment, please ask me.
Are there any specifications that need to be covered, or it can be a general statement?
In your own company. So whatever unique points, unique parameters you want to bring in, most welcome. Okay. Let's see how it goes. Whenever anybody is ready, please raise your hand so that we can start. If you have any doubt about this small task, ask me. I will again clarify.
So basically, I think we can start with a small story also. Hello.
Okay, just 1 minute, 1 minute. Somebody said, can't hear anything. Me too. I think some assignment is given. Okay. Okay, very quickly, guys, whoever already joined with me, please bear with me. I'll take 1 more minute to explain to the people who have joined late. Guys, people who have joined late, for your convenience, we have given a small task where we have said that let's assume in your own organization, can be your own company, your institute, your university, your consultancy, whichever that is, in that particular place, the management has taken a conscious decision that some employees have to be relocating to another branch in another city. Okay. Till now, at present, some employees were working from home full time. Some people were working partially work from home. Some people were going to the office, but it was in your city itself. But now the management wants some employees to be relocating to other city. Of course, the reimbursement of the relocation cost will be there. Okay. Now, this was the proposition, and I wanted to see how we actually going to put forth this particular proposal in front of a key employee group. Okay, so introduction and conclusion, how you are going to actually build your proposition, that we wanted to see. So that was a very small task to begin with. So this was the thing which we have done, and people who have joined late, you take you a little bit more time, no problem. But we can start with the other people who were already there with me from the beginning. Let's start talking about it. Yes, so who wants to start first, please? I think Smita raised hand. Yes, Smita?
Yes, ma'am.
Jigar was also there, right? Jigar, I'll come to you. Just give me some time. Let us finish with Smita first. Yes, Smita.
A very good morning to our strong pillars of our company. Yes, that's you, the most integral and the support system of our corporate. As told by Michelle Obama, becoming isn't arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously towards a better self. The journey doesn't end. To embark the same achievement, I'm very happy to announce that some of our achievers who are here today are going to witness this in practical experience with new social and professional improvement as a milestone of their growth. Yes, this is about relocating to our new plant in XYZ city to evolve and grow more with new challenges. To mention the cost and expense of relocating will be borne by the organization. So here, I hope you're all set to witness the new journey of growth and challenges. Any further queries can be clarified.
Okay, Smita, fantastic. Here, ladies and gentlemen, if you note some of the points which she has done, which she has mentioned, I liked one of the points really, really nicely she has mentioned actually, where she has mentioned that the great achievers. So it's a kind of, moral boasting and kind of ego massaging kind of thing what she has used. Then also she has mentioned about the organization is doing really great. And, in a very beautiful way, she was telling that this is what we are going to do and you are going to be part of the journey. So it is kind of looking forward. However, the conclusion was not very clearly mentioned because it was left to our imagination. So Smita did not explain that too much, but the intro part was really, really nice. Now let me hear from somebody else. Somebody else? Raise your hand, please.
Yeah, I would like to try.
Yes, Jigar, please.
So, whenever we think of a lifetime opportunity, it is always not where you exist. So, our organization is going to select a few individuals based on their caliber, and we would like to give them an opportunity to relocate themselves for their future prospect growth and in the bigger organizational picture. So, this is a golden opportunity given to a few individuals where the company will relocate them and also take care of all their expenses, which are part of their professional life and relocating, and will give them opportunity to grow in the future. For any queries, we are open for discussion.
Fantastic. Here also, we are kind of giving them that motivational pointers by saying that, it is going to be useful for your own life and career as well, apart from the organizational growth. So it was very nicely done. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, let me give you an addendum to the situation which I have given. The addendum is now, let's say, after you have introduced the proposal and you have started talking about this, the employee group, they have started whispering among yourselves and they have started talking among themselves, and then they started raising few questions. What do you think the type of questions you will be encountering from them? Because that is going to be part of the content of your presentation or your discussion with the employees. The intro part you have done, the conclusion you did not do properly because it was only left to your imagination. Now I'm giving you some further clue. The employee group, they have started discussing among themselves and they are going to raise certain questions. As presenters, as the experienced people in the organization, you must be predicting that there will be certain kind of questions which will be raised. What type of questions do you think will be raised? If you want to write in the chat box, that also you can do. If you want to speak, that also is okay.
The criteria which basis the employees were selected would be the first question.
Okay, fantastic. So the first point is based on which criteria the people are going to be selected for the relocation. Next.
And
Is
any
it a
change of
temporary or personal permanent change? Transfer.
Absolutely. Is it going to be temporary or it is going to be forever? I mean, whatever is the meaning of forever in the organizational context, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever, it is going to be lasting for that long. Okay, next.
is it that it is solely this company or a merger with any other company? Because then the cross culture things will be thought about by the employees.
Okay, so the employees may ask this question that why all on a sudden the company wants to take this decision. Is it only because they want to expand or is it because they're going for some strategic alliances? Fantastic. Next. Anything
Any
else?
perks in improvement in any perks, allowances, and family relocation or only personal relocation?
Absolutely. So is it going to be affecting positively our compensation package? And what about our family? Fantastic. Anybody else? Why only Smita and Jigar? Why not the other people? Guys, come on, give it a try.
Ma'am, it is other thing also, like if we are relocating, if someone is having kids or something, there must be a particular school or accommodation would be provided. This kind of thing will also help.
Okay, so it will be the additional components of your I would say the compensation package which the company has extended to you. In fact, that is what I think Jigar was mentioning about the additional perks. Okay, so it's kind of parameters which you can discuss in terms of whether there will be any facility provided for the children education, whether any assistance for identifying the house or the flat to stay and settle, etc. That will be provided by the company, etc. That will be also there. Fantastic. Yes, Alankar. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Ma'am, there will be there will be three type of questions. First will be regarding accommodation, whether company has tied up with somebody to provide to facilitate the accommodation part. Reimbursement is something, but whether they have tied up with some agency. Second will be regarding children education, whether company will be footing the bill for because every big school takes a good amount of fees and admission, whether that is going to be reimbursed or the company has lined up with somebody. And obviously the third part will be spousal support, because some of the spouses will be working, whether company has some arrangements from them also. We can assume that 50% or let us assume 40% of the spouses will need to relocate. So these three things will also come. And obviously, what was the organizational dynamics before that? Whether getting transferred or relocated was part of the psychological contract with the company, or it was not. We were supposed to be in one location, and all of a sudden, company is expanding somewhere else, and then they want just the employees to relocate. Then, in that case, people will definitely put up that question also, that this is not what we have signed up for, even though the contract condition might say that you can be transferred anywhere. So they were maybe wanting some kind of additional motivation, whether in terms of status of rank or additional increment. So this, I think, will be more or less, if the company is allowing a freer discussion, it may not, the discussion, the atmosphere of free discussion may not be there. In that case, people will not say anything, and they will either accept it or reject it, and they will resign and move away. So it also depends how the new management wants to take up this situation. How is the attrition in this market is going to happen, if it happens, whether the market is now employer friendly or whether it is short of talent. So all these things will come into picture.
Fantastic. Fantastic. In fact, one point to be noted here, Alankar was mentioning about this dual career couple, and that becomes a big challenge for HR department, especially when you talk about this relocation. Okay, I'm fully with you, and this is a big challenge. In fact, that is why many organizations nowadays, in fact, earlier also they used to have, but now they started this policy of extending the spouse job assistance program. Okay, Sadaf and PV Chalapati, I'll just come to you guys. Just give me 1 minute. I'll finish the talk and then I'll come back to you. Yeah, but please keep on raising your hand so that I can identify you. Yeah. So this dual career couple, yes, very crucial. And I was mentioning about this spouse assistance program. So based on the whole point of my discussion here today is based on the kind of questions are being asked, you are actually predicting or assuming that these type of questions may be asked, and you are perhaps prepared even before you are going to talk. Yeah, even before you are facing the employee group, you are kind of having a list of points where you have noted down that these are the points on which the employees may raise the question. How you are addressing the question, what kind of answer you are going to give, that is based on the management policy and decision and discretion, of course. But you as a presenter or as a proposer of this particular point or particular scheme, you are assuming that these kind of questions are coming, and you are well prepared, well in advance. You have already done the rehearsal in your mind. That is very crucial. Okay, that is what I'm trying to say. Fantastic point. Now let me go to Sadaf. Yes, Sadaf, please.
So my question will be here that who is going to be responsible for the entire project? Okay, so I'm going to ask this question. then perhaps I will also go to, will there be any training provided since we are relocating to different state now? Is there any particular trainings place provided for us? Is there anything that we have to go through? Then perhaps third question that I'll ask is that how is this proposal going to affect different departments, teams within the country and alignment with the goal?
Okay. Okay, point noted. So you are basically trying to check that if the relocation is happening, you are actually asking for this clarification. If the relocation is happening, then how the alignment of the job role and responsibilities are going to be readjusted. Very nice point.
Exactly.
And naturally, as the presenter, you have to assume that this kind of questions will be coming and you have to address this according to the discussion you already had with the management. Very nice point. Okay. Yes, PV Chalapati, you also wanted to say something, right?
Yeah. It is, I think most of the points have been covered. But as far as the career development and training is concerned, so what type of new responsibilities or challenges will they face in the new location? So that would be one of the questions. And will there be any additional training or development opportunities provided to help them to adjust to the new roles and the environment? So that also would be one of the probable questions. And how will this relocation impact their long-term career growth, right, within the organization?
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Yeah,
very valid point. Yes. Alankar, anything else? I see your hand is still raised.
Ma'am, one thing can be that this new office, the officers who are going to be relocated, they will want to have some understanding of the business opportunities that have that has caused this change. So because that will give them that will be something that is hidden from them. Growth in the new place will be dependent on the organization possibilities there. So maybe people will be interested in that also.
Okay, fantastic. But along with all the points what you have said, I will, yes, Smita, want to say something?
I think there will be one more question regarding the denial. What would be the application of the denial also? Because it's not all the ways that.
Exactly. You have actually read my mind. I was about to say that point. Yes. Can you just elaborate that for the benefit of the rest?
Yes. Though all these points are met, there are many other reasons and factors which can actually ask them to say no. So what would be that either there will be an adjustment of the higher ranking or will there be anything that has to be taken? What would be the effect of it? A domino effect of it has to be calculated and told them about that.
Exactly.
That also.
Exactly. My experience says there will be always, and I'm sure you all will agree with me, there will be always perhaps a smaller fraction in the audience who will be raising this question. Maybe just for the heck of raising it, they will do that, but then they will definitely ask this question that in case I disagree, in case I deny, in case I refuse to get shifted, get relocated, if my name is selected, then what will happen? Is it going to be any negative effect which will be happening on me? Is it going to be a kind of note which will be there in my personal record? Is it something which the management is not going to be taking in a positive stride? Is it going to affect my promotion? Exactly how you are going to actually ensure and promise me that I'll be not affected by saying no. Now, this point is the most crucial point as the presenter, because there you are in a position, the presenter is in a position where that presenter does not have a full or clear idea as to how to address it. Because that will be considered mostly, I have seen in most of the organizations, as need to know basis. Meaning, companies will not tell upfront to the employee group that if you say no, you will be losing the job. Of course, there are examples. Okay, and some very big companies and very big people, the big personalities, they keep on doing that. Openly they actually explain that if you don't fall in line, you can, see the door of the company, you can go out either in my way or highway. That's the way we call it, yeah. But in our case, when we try to give this kind of presentation, we perhaps are not very sure. In that case, we have to dodge the question a little bit. I know perhaps you may not like this word dodging, but I call it as dodging because at this particular point of time, my main objective as a presenter was not to actually create more confusion and whirlpool of refusal and disagreement. Rather, my objective was to introduce the topic of change and shifting to another city, relocation to another city, in front of the group of people, and then to see how they're reacting, so that that can be reported back to the management, and then further discussion and debate will be going on. So when you do that, just remember this. What I'm trying to say here is the objective is very, very crucial, because if somebody is not accepting the offer the management is providing, that will be discussed in a closed door discussion. These kind of things will be never discussed in public, because each individual employee's personal record has got certain parameters to take into consideration. The management has noticed their performance records. The management needs to know their family background, and etc. etc. Just a small example. An employee says, I don't want to go because, let's say, his both the parents are ailing and they are very, very unwell. Both of them are hospitalized. I'm just giving an example. Very unfortunate case. Okay. In that case, if that employee comes forward and says that, sorry, I cannot go because these are the things that are there, and if the management tries to take a hard stance by saying that if you don't listen to me or if you don't accept the offer, you will lose the job, that will create a very negative image of management in the mind of the employees. Therefore, these kind of things cannot be discussed in public. So you have to identify how to avoid and dodge this kind of questions. So intro part is very nicely done, but when it comes to the conclusion, that conclusion depends on how the discussion is going and how the nerve of the audience group is being in the positive or in the negative. Okay, so this is what we have to remember. Now, if we look at the next point, what we want to intend to discuss here is the content development. That means when we are discussing about our presentations, we also need to understand that how the content of the presentation are going to be developed. For example, in our discussion, in our task, we have mentioned the content where we have to, the speaker has to pay attention to the objective and purpose of the speech. Okay. The next is an opening of the speech needs to have a kind of unique element. So what you all have done, you all have come up with, based on your experience, you all have come up with certain unique feature which you thought that will motivate the employee group to accept the offer of relocation, is not it? So this unique element the presenter has to identify. The next point will be the data sheets and facts. These we have not really mentioned because we said it is your discretion. You imagine and speak. In our situation, guys, what type of data sheet and fact do you think is going to be needed to back up our points?
The growth of
What
the company.
type of data? Only
The
type.
growth of the, yes, the growth of the statistical data, basically.
No, I mean, whatever type of data. I mean, basically, you are backing up your points by giving some data sheets. Okay, so one is growth of the company. Fantastic point. So you are actually
And the
telling
performance graph of the employees who are selected for the criteria.
okay,
Selected.
sure. Okay, so two things you are saying. One, from the perspective of the company needs to grow. Okay, so it is inevitable that we are expanding. The second one, you are giving the data that only based on the performance, the employees are going to be selected for the relocation. Fantastic. What else?
Expected rate of growth. Expected rate of growth due to the relocation, and what would be the profit for the employees based on that growth.
Okay, this point I'm not very clear about. Can you just explain once again?
If we relocate, if the thing is going to be same, it has to have, because now when we are already growing and we are having certain criteria to select the employees, I believe there should be something more growth in the company. So what is the expected rate of growth due to the relocation of the company? What would be that growth and motivation for the employees to work for the company? That is their compensation, which is going to grow that way, and also the data of what is the expected growth of the company in further after relocating. So that might give a factor of motivating the employees, telling that yes, they are making us an integral part of the growth, and I'm one of among it. It is not always the higher authorities, it is even me.
Okay. Some people, Smita, will consider this point as a very, very controversial one. The reason is you are actually kind of alluring the employees to relocate themselves because they will be having a better opportunity of growth. But I see this particular point as a very positive point. The reason is I can actually create my presentation in a way by saying that because the new branch is going to be a greenfield site, and you will be having the tremendous opportunity to, come up with some innovative and creative idea of performing, and your performance is going to be immediately seen and noticed by the management. You will be actually coming to the limelight. Therefore, it will be a very unique opportunity for you to show your potential to grow up the ladder. That is what you are trying to say, right?
Yes.
Instead of putting it in a monetary way or tangible benefit way, you can put it in a little intangible way. And this is the way we need to develop our content, because we have to be very, very careful that in public, when you are announcing certain points or certain scheme, there we cannot actually talk about the hardcore data without checking on the management, checking on with the management that what did they decide. In our case, we have not decided anything. That is why it little bit, perhaps sugar coated, but the point is very much well taken, at least by me. Let me see what the others are thinking about any other point. Guys, anything else? Any other things come to your mind? Any other data point you want to give? This is the point we are talking about. Data sheets and facts. So what are the data sheets and facts you're going to talk about? Anybody? No?
So
Okay.
mainly we can also discuss if there are any future aspects of the company, like 5 years plan. From 59 branches, we are going to say 76 branch in 5 years down the line, and estimated number of students that need to be covered at different location, number of trainers that are required at different locations. That can be some numbers that can be shared.
Absolutely.
And to part of that journey, you can be in this change management.
Absolutely. In fact, to bring some more relevant data in this kind of situation, we are just talking about one illustration here. So you can just even talk about that expansion, how you are going to have the customer reach more, how you can predict that the more sales target can be achieved, how you can overnumber or outnumber the competitors, so as to say. You can also talk about what can be the possibility of bringing some new strategic alliances, and etc., etc. Maybe, you are taking over some smaller company and something like that. Just an example. So when you are going to talk about this content development, depending on, that is what we are saying, depending on the objective and what you want to achieve, the different type of data, facts, and figures to be provided. Okay, and naturally the presentation should have a logical flow, which we all know, we all are experts here. Okay, now the next point is very interesting. It is improvisation. We all know that. Okay, so even before getting into the slide part, let me just check with you guys. How many of you actually had that experience that you have prepared well in advance of giving some presentation, talking about some training session, and then on the spot you had to improvise? And if you had the experience, how it happened and how did you manage it? How did it happen? That means why the improvisation was needed and how did you manage it? Take a couple of minutes time. Okay, please share your experience so that we can learn from each other. If anybody wants to write in the chat box, no problem. If you want to say it, please say.
I have never come across any situation for improvisation, but normally, if you need to improvise, it is only possible whenever you are present with something and the demand from the audience is changed. So your objective of the training is a little deferred, and then you need to improvise on the topic. It all is on the spur of the moment with your experience or past relating to somebody's experience. You can share that. Otherwise, trainers at this position can be spellbound and they will not have anything to share with the participants.
Okay. Anybody else?
So if first of all, the planning has to be very sufficiently done that this kind of situation doesn't arise. But if it arises, instead of catering to one by one questions, what I generally ask them is chat box will be open towards the end of the session and important questions will be catered. If it is not catered here, we can definitely connect one-on-one basis. If perhaps I don't have a fair understanding of that particular question that is being asked, I'll gather information. I'll tell them I'll get back to you in some time to give an exact and precise information about it. I will never let any false or misleading information towards the employees.
Yes, anybody else? Sadaf, you want to say? Alankar, I'll come to you.
I just said I was the one who was speaking right
Oh,
now.
okay, okay. I saw
Yes.
this Smita's name. Okay, no problem, no problem.
No. Yes.
Yes. Yes, Alankar.
The last time I had to improvise, I will just relate with my example. We were having a capsule module on sustainability for our entire corporation, new inductees. So there were 9 or 10 locations and there were around 100, 200 people. And we had lined up another division for giving that speeches on various aspects of sustainability, rainwater harvesting and all that. All of a sudden, I started receiving calls that your people are not willing to listen. They are not interacting. There is nothing. Why we have done this and all those sort of things from the other corporation, the other people from the other corporation which had coordinated. So this was the situation. And when I logged into it, I realized that my people are sitting in groups. They are young people, boys and girls, more interested in chatting between themselves rather than listening to it. So obviously, I took administrative measures. I called their L&D heads and asked them to ensure something. But at the same time, it was necessary to massage the ego of the presenters there because the presenters who were presenting were ex-EDs, the highest rank which we had in the company. So I was lucky enough that I knew some aspects of their training. For example, the session on rainwater harvesting was going on. So I think at that point of time, I had to reel in around 8 to 10 facts about rainwater harvesting from myself because I was interested in rainwater harvesting, so I knew of those facts. So I could get away with that. Otherwise, it was situation was getting tense. They were saying that we will call off the training, the trainers themselves. So this is the improvisation I did, basically reeling in facts of the faculty, supporting them and giving them importance because they were under the impression that we are not being treated as important enough.
Okay, so your knowledge and your previous experience actually saved you. Fantastic. Very nice. Okay. Yes, anybody else? Come on, guys. We all have done our presentation.
Similarly, we used to do some customer service sessions. So
Mhm.
in my previous organization, we used to do role plays and all those things. So in my current organization where I'm employed, we had challenges doing the same. So because of the previous experience and in detail plans that we used to prepare, we were aware what we need to do. So probably tapping out again on the same aspect as detailed or the more awareness you have about the subject, probably you can go back and give better understanding towards it.
Sure. Very nice point. Anybody else?
I really can't comment on this, ma'am, because I don't come across the trainees always. I always come across the children, and that is an improvisation every day when we go into the class.
Yes. Yes.
Small
Yes.
children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't agree more. They are the most difficult customers, if you will. Absolutely.
Because whenever we teach about I handle English and social studies. So when we go to the social studies session, it will be something like when we speak about women's status in one of the sections. So we just have that whole thing text which will be told, but they won't be able to relate it. So every time when we have to relate it, we do have certain questions. Ma'am, the women's status has changed from top to bottom. From that time, it was very superior to now, and it had come to an inferior position, and now again it is growing up. So what would be the cases? Then we'll have to start brainstorming the children with their grannies, with their great grannies, and ourselves with their mother and all these things. So that improvisation goes on every day, step by step for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I have seen the situation where the entire mood of the audience, what you expect to have, maybe because of your previous earlier experiences, you thought that the mood of the audience is going to be more receiving, and they will be trying to connect with you as it was happening in the past and etc. But one day you go and you find the same audience, but they're not with you because you do not know, maybe before you, maybe half an hour back or before the lunch break, there was one more presentation given by one of the senior persons in the company where not very pleasant news has been announced. Just an example. For example, this time the bonus will be given only 5% and not 10%. Just I'm giving just an example. At that point of time, immediately you have to improvise, and to cheer them up, you have to come up with some joke or some discussion. You have to do some positive note, some inspiring quote, or some funny cartoon or something we have to show, so that immediately at least for the heck of your presentation, at least the audience feels little bit motivated and listen to you. So this kind of improvisation will be always there. Most of the times they seem to be very funny, they seem to be very trivial, but when you are standing as the presenter or as the communicator, you are just sweating, and you are embarrassed, and you are worried that how you are going to actually have the effectiveness of your presentation. And at that point of time, you only understand that what you are going through. Let me put it this way: what you are going through. Even if we are sitting here and discussing at our leisure, we will still not able to understand at that particular point of time how much embarrassed and how much tensed we are, because we want to communicate with our fullest, but then somehow the improvisation has to be done to do that. And improvisation is not trivial at that point of time. Even if you have to crack a joke, even if it is a very trivial one, still, if it works, it is going to be a huge advantage for your improvisation. So let me quickly share what are the things which we want to discuss about this. There are certain very not very big or huge points all the time, but certain trivial points also can create a lot of problem, because of which you have to improvise. For example, no access to the venue before the time of the speech or presentation. This I have experienced a couple of times, where in Bangalore, for instance, even if you have a lot of time in hand and you have started from home in the right time, and you're going to reach the venue half an hour before, but all of a sudden you find that traffic jam is so huge, and I'm sure many of us has gone through this in various cities of our country. The traffic jam is so huge that it is impossible to reach within the time. So by the time you are reaching there, it is almost the starting time where the presentation has to start. So the presenter starts getting panicking because there is no time to actually set up the system, etc., etc. And nowadays you don't have the so-called assistants with you. We all have to manage our own devices. We have to manage our own laptops or systems or projectors properly. So it will take some more time. And the countdown starts immediately because your time is running out. So this kind of problem becomes a very, very big challenge. And at that particular point of time, if it happens, what type of improvisation do you think we should take? I'm very much late. I'm running late. I'm reaching the training venue or reaching the presentation venue. Almost only 1 minute is left. And I have to set up my devices and I have to check the mic and etc. etc. Then my class can be started or my presentation can be started. So what improvisation do you think you should take?
In this type, it is very important that you start asking open-ended questions to the team so that many people at the same time are answering, and then you tell them to answer one by one. And then you at the same time start preparing your devices and getting fresh and catching up with your breath. So you are ready
Okay.
for the actual presentation.
Okay, so multitasking. You are asking some
Yeah.
questions and getting the breather, and the audience also starts getting connected with you, and then
Yes.
you are started doing the device. Okay, sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Probably a planned way of icebreaker session, which doesn't need your intervention, but it can happen among the employees, and we can get some feedback also based on that.
Yes,
Something very
icebreaker can be, yes. Icebreaker can be a very good one. There, at least you can ask people to join different groups and give us very small task, perhaps task in the sense, give a name of your group or write down your names or draw a small, I would say, I don't know, maybe a logo for your group, the subgroup, I mean. So it will take at least 5 minutes. Within 5-10 minutes, you are going to be ready and you can catch your breath and you can start talking. Yes, improvisation. Any other way of improvising? What else did you do?
I simply ask for help.
You simply ask for help. Okay, fair enough.
And I'll start conversation with them, connecting with them, but my hand will also be working simultaneously with them. And among the trainees who are there, definitely there will be some people who are very sound with technology, right? And I'm going to thank them for that, and I'll thank for the patience they have kept till now, and thereby I'll try to build a bridge as well as solve my problem.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yes, that is also another way of doing it. I mean, in a way, we all have applied, I think, all this type of improvisation in our experience. It is not only one thing we have taken or we have adopted, we have done so many different ways of adoption of improvisation depending on the nature of the audience and so on. Yes. Anybody else?
Ma'am, maybe they could ask participants only to volunteer for our arrangements, maybe.
Yeah, that is what she was mentioning also. You will ask the participants to come and help you out to set up the whole thing. Yes.
Yeah,
Bharat,
I think in our agenda, if you look into maybe in training session in agenda, there is something which is can be done even without that particular setup. So that part of the training can be done in that period when you are yes, in that condition where this technical things are making some problems. So let's say if in agenda there is one already assessment is planned, which is based on the previous learning. So you can just run that assessment before, and by that time you can use that particular time to set up all these things. And that one. And second, maybe leveraging the experience of the learner also. Sometimes if one of the learners is having a very good experience on the particular topic, so we all as a trainer believe that the peer learning helps a lot. So we can start by asking him to share few of the insights and the learning which he have on particular things. By the time the learner get engaged over there, we can try to get solve that issues.
Fantastic. Now, before I go to anybody else, quickly, let me just point out what Bharat has mentioned. There's a very clear difference between what he was telling and what the earlier, people we were talking about. Mostly the earlier people, we were all assuming, including myself, we were all assuming that it is going to be the beginning of the session or beginning of the presentation, right? And that is why we're talking about icebreaker or open-ended question and etc. Whereas in case of Bharat, he has assumed a situation where the same audience or similar type of audience, or I would say the same audience, they must have gone through the sessions earlier. So maybe it is the second day of the training, or maybe it is the second phase of the training or presentation or whatever, where you can actually use the previous experience or the previous experience of the audience or previous experience of the presentation and ask for their feedback, so that that time can be beautifully used in making yourself prepared. Okay, and if need be, you can change the sequence of the presentation also. So what I'm trying to say is that this is the beauty of learning from each other. It is a open forum. We are learning from each other. When some people, we are assuming in a particular way we are going to improvise, there are some people who are assuming a different type of situation and they're improvising based on that. How beautifully we are doing this. We all are doing almost everything, but depending on the situation. So fantastic, guys. Really very nice pointers. Okay. So let me just go to the other one. Technological equipment not functioning. We all know what to do. If it does not work, either we ask for help from the tech people, or we can ask the audience to help. But in case that does not happen, then there is a problem. What we do at that point of time? Any idea?
Use any other method, ma'am, which is appropriate?
We
Yes.
normally refer to go to the hard copy or the books that is available with us as printouts or leave behinds that we have given to them, and then we start interacting on those points. On page number 49, this is the point that we have given, and we can start.
Fantastic. In fact, that is one of the advantage of giving away the handout at the beginning. Okay, so at least the audience will be having some hard copy reference, and so do you. Naturally, that will be used as our background material, as our referring material, and then we can start discussing. Fantastic. Change in the number of participants. This happens, I would say not always, but sometimes there is a possibility where I have seen that, the HR of the company says, there are 25 participants who are going to attend your session. And then when I land up, I find around 38 or 39 people, because at the last minute, just previous day, some more people have been nominated by the line managers. And then you just cannot say, okay, I have only 25 copies of the handout or 25 copies of the assignment or the exercise, and the rest of the people are not going to have it. So what we improvise at that point of time, we quickly, either we ask people to share among themselves. Okay, a single copy may be shared by 2 people, or when we let us start the discussion or the training, and then within the time we will be asking somebody to make them photocopies more, or we can share it by email or intranet, whatever, so that the soft copy the participants can get. So these kind of things actually happen, and very quickly we improvise on the spot. We all are aware about those things. Co-presenter not turning up. Yeah. Some question? Yeah.
I think yeah. So
Yeah.
they said Bharat. I just wondering about these few things because if I look into my training setup and planning, generally these are comes under the logistic which we already prepared. For example, let's say something which is PPT based, we have some e-learning module also over there for the same, or maybe some handouts. So I think it is a kind of well preparation of the trainer, and I think this is the practice. I believe that most of institute or the trainer are used, such as having the PPT even in a hard copy format, or maybe in soft copy format. So let's say, as you give an example, there is a few joiner, let's say new joiner, 20 odd people are joining. They need a basic understanding on maybe therapy or product. And all of a sudden, because there is an acquisition of one organization and they need to go with the same therapy. So there is 30 more people get added. So it is now absolutely double, more than double. So having this kind of preparation means soft copy also help out over there. So in our place, it is a kind of practice to keep all this thing in the all format, hard copy, soft copy, and so that I think that's what I could not fall in this kind of situation.
No, that is what I'm trying to say here, Bharat. That if we have the hard copy, you give the hard copy. Otherwise, you ask the people to share, or as I said, you can send it by mail or you can share it with the intranet. That is what the meaning of soft copy is, not it? So, depending on the situation, you are improvising. Whatever you are doing out of turn, it is improvisation. On the spot, you are taking very fast decision. That is improvisation. That is what I'm trying to tell.
Right. Thank you.
Right. So I'm absolutely with you, what you are saying. Right. So basically, these are some of the things we were mentioning. For instance, a co-presenter not turning up. Now, this is something which is very, very scary stuff. I don't know about you, but for me, yes, it is, because we actually have a proper, that kind of flow of presentation or training already assigned. And if the co-presenter for some reason does not turn up, it's a big, big challenge for the presenter or the trainer. I have seen these things happening where it becomes a big mess. Two things are going to be very, very useful in this case. One, we have a backup. Backup means if you're working in a consultancy or if you're working in a training division or department of a company, you always have one more trainer to back you up. So if your co-presenter or co-trainer does not turn up, in the morning, you can call this particular person and kind of brief that person, and that backup can be useful for you. Or the second one is, you should be thoroughly aware about what the total training session or the presentation sessions are all about. Okay, so if somebody does not turn up, if your co-presenter does not turn up, then at least you can manage the show. But having said that, I also understand one very important point. If it is a very technical training, and if my part of skill set does not I would say cover that particular technical issues, then it will be not possible for me to handle that part. So in that case, either I have to perhaps stop the presentation, stop the training, or I have to postpone the training session by actually explaining the real cause. Whatever is the situation, we have to deal with it, but somehow that has to be done and we have to take the shot. Language and topic, depending on the nature of the audience, as we have discussed earlier, nature of the nature of the audience, we have to decide what kind of language has to be used, and if the topic needs to be modified a little bit based on the demand of the audience, that also sometimes you do. For example, you have decided to talk about certain advanced feature of some programming, but then the audience who are there, they have started asking some questions. Substantial number of audience members, they have asked certain very basic type of questions about programming, and then you cannot move to the advanced one. So improvisation will demand that either you have to talk very briefly about the fundamentals of that particular programming, or you say, I will share some of the details with you during the tea break or coffee break or during the lunch break. You please go through it and then come back, and then we will ask for clarification. That is not going to be enough. I know that, but at least as a presenter or as a trainer, this improvisation technique can be useful. Next is time availability. Depending on that, how much time we have, we know how to manage it. That is very quickly we want to wind up or we want to extend our discussion, and etc. etc. Okay. Handling audience, we have already discussed quite a lot about. Yeah, that means depending on what type of audience we have, what kind of possible questions they're going to ask. Just a few minutes back, we were discussing about our assumptions that these are some of the potential questions which the audience may be asking, and we are going to actually address that, okay? Ground rules for asking question is also very, very crucial. I have seen almost all of us, we do that. Either we take the questions at the end of the session, or we ask them to keep on writing. In our case, we are asking them to write in the chat box so that in our convenient time, we can pick up the question and answer it. Some of the ways of handling audience: careful listening, check with them, clarify their doubts, involvement of the audience as a whole, and the response should be crisp. That means it should not be too much spread out and too much elaborated, because it is going to be wastage of time. So if the response is going to be a very, very elaborated one, you may as well tell the audience that I will come back to you at the end of the session, because you do not want to spend the time on only clarifying the doubt. You want to touch up and cover up the points which you intend to discuss during your presentation. Some of the options for answering the question: give answer, reflect on the question the audience has got. If the question is not really relevant to your discussion, deflect it. Okay, there is no problem on that. Deflect it and bring the audience again back in track. If you think that answer is going to demand a lot of time from you, defer the answer. And if it is entirely out of the scope of the discussion, tell straight away that this is outside the scope of our discussion. We will be not able to take that particular question. These are some of the things which we need to avoid. Okay. Please go through this. These are all self-explanatory. The last point I have seen happens. Just 1 minute. Yeah, sorry guys. The last point I was mentioning about, if there is a disagreement among the audience about the points made by the speaker should never show aggression or hostility towards the audience. Now, this is something which we have to be very, very careful. I'm sure we all are professionals, and we have seen this case where just for the sake of argument, some members in the audience, they ask question. Just because they are not able to understand what we are trying to say, they ask question. Sometimes they ask certain very trivial points to clarify, which takes a lot of time to explain. Sometimes there are, very unfortunate, but sometimes there are certain members in the audience who just want to divert the attention of the rest of the audience. They ask certain silly questions just to make fun out of the presenters. I have seen people do that. But in that case, we as the presenters, we as the trainers cannot lose our patience. We cannot show our aggression, or we cannot show our anger, and we have to be very, very correct in our behavior, and we have to maintain our calm. The other point, what I wanted to tell is understanding the non-verbal cues. These also we have mentioned earlier. Okay, facial expressions, postures and gestures, and paralinguistics cue. These are very, very crucial for us to understand how the audience is actually accepting our presentation or our communication. Handling difficult participants. Guys, this is what I want to know from you. In your experience, how you have handled those difficult participants in the audience. The pointers I have already given in the slide, but if we can have some volunteers in our participant list today, we can just share our experience. That will be a very nice live example of the pointers which I have given here. Creating an open environment, creating a one-to-one communication, changing the group configuration, deflecting the issue, using the non-verbal cues. Okay.
So
How did you
difficult
handle it?
participant,
So,
if you, yeah, somebody
please
is
go ahead.
talking.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, Bharat,
So
you
when we
say,
talk
then
about,
Jigar will.
yeah, Bharat. you continue.
Okay. So it is about the understanding non-verbal cues of the participant and then helping them to engage more, right, ma'am?
Yes.
So in that case, in general, there are few things I do. First of all, if I find someone is too much aggressive, asking a lot of question and trying to make the people distracted on the top from the topic, then at that moment, generally, I ask him to share very clearly that about the topic, specific question, and his experience on that topic again, trying to bring back him on the topic. And when it comes to the one who is not participating at all and uh, keeping a mum, we could not get understanding. Is he or she understanding or about the level of understanding? Then at that moment, grouping that particular participant with two more participants and creating a cohort, or maybe can a breakout room. They're ensuring that the peer learning can help him out. So
Yes, very
these
nice
two,
point. Yes.
yeah.
Yes, very nice. So basically, we are trying to identify who is have, or rather, let me put it this way, who have the potential to become a difficult participant. Yes. So very nicely put. Yes. Anybody else?
So I was also referring on the similar lines when you are taking any session and a particular person or a couple of people who always try to keep on challenging your thoughts or giving their own opinion, which maybe are not related. So then you should tell them clearly, okay, these are the points which are relevant and these are the points which are not relevant. So they get the message to stick to the topic which is being presented. And sometimes you can also give them their space to elaborate on their point. So their ego is getting satisfied and they will then keep mum for at least say another half an hour or 45 minutes. Or you can ask them to explain their point to the group or the people who have not understood. So again, their ego is getting satisfied and they'll be able to be participative more in a positive manner.
Actually, I tell you, the last point what you have mentioned, Jigar, that's a very, very clever way of deflecting that, the difficult participant. Because on one hand, you are acknowledging that, yes, I'm listening to you. On the other hand, you are making the forum open, and the responsibility of answering the question or clarifying the doubt is not on you anymore. You are allowing the other participants to actually, chip in and tell that what this particular difficult creature is talking about perhaps is not within the limit of the discussion. I hope you understand that. Yeah. So you are actually bringing a kind of peer pressure, positive peer pressure, which is telling that particular difficult participant that please do not start creating this kind of problem any further because we are not liking it. Or you can discuss these things, but not at the cost of or at the expense of our time. Do that once the
Absolutely
training
right.
is over.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
it is
So
a very, very nice way, actually. I actually do that. So beautifully, I deflect the whole point towards the whole discussion arrow towards the other participants who were positively associated, linked or connected with me in the presentation. And I say, okay, fine. Let's hear from the others. What do they think? Because they're also a very important part of your audience, remember? So it's a very, very clever way to do that. And when we do that, a very important part, the last point which we need to discuss is the eliciting the feedback part. Feedback is the very, very crucial part of any communication. Yeah. My dear friends, I think in our earlier sessions or in the other modules of your this paper 6, that is communication and presentation skill, I'm sure the other faculty member must have discussed about this. When we talk about the model of communication, the communication starts with the sender of the message. It goes to the receiver of the message by traveling various barriers, traveling through several noises, And then the receiver tries to understand what the communication or the message has been sent by the sender. If the understanding is okay or it is not okay, eventually the receiver needs to send some signal that the message has been understood or the message is not understood. And the signal through which the receiver is telling the sender about the understanding of the message is called feedback. Therefore, feedback is extremely crucial for any presenter or any trainer. Feedback we generally collect at various levels. Of course, in your other papers, you'll be talking about that Kirkpatrick model of training evaluation, where the reaction level, immediate level, etc., etc. There will be different levels. That's not part of the scope of our paper today. But what I intend to tell here is, generally, once the training session or the presentation is over, we actually want to know the feedback of the audience, that what do they feel about the session, what they have understood, any question to clarify, etc., etc. But in between, when we are talking about our presentation, there also we can take a pause and ask for certain doubt clearing pointers. These will act as the feedback from the audience. That not only connects us with the audience, that also gives us the feeling to the audience that they have a very important role to play. Because I have seen in my experience that when the audience, the members in the audience, when they ask very meaningful questions, or when they actually volunteer to tell certain pointers, that becomes a prelude to our next session or next point. I'm sure you must have already experienced that earlier. Therefore, eliciting feedback is extremely crucial. And when you are collecting the feedback during your training session, this time we should always ask open-ended question. That means you have any question, please feel free to ask. It should never be, generally I have seen, it should never be a multiple choice question or close-ended question. Close-ended question or MCQs will be given at the end of the session, not during the session. So if quickly we try to show what I intended you to see this, okay? So this is some of the things I wanted you to see. Just 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. So this is the way you can actually use a rating scale. You can use, okay, to see the initial feedback of the participants at the beginning of the, at the end of the session. You can ask the open-ended questions during the session, and based on their pointers, you can try to clarify their doubts. But please remember that we need to be, recipient of the constructive feedback. And even if the feedback is not very happy or very positive, we should take it in a positive stride. At that point of time, we should not lose our calm, or we should not belittle the person who was providing the feedback. And we should also acknowledge the fact that there will be always a scope for improvement. So even if the participants are giving certain very trivial feedback, we should take it in a positive mind. Okay. However, if the feedback is very vague, overstated, personal, or biased negative feedback, for example, I give you an example here. People who are experienced in providing the behavioral training. Okay, I'm sure in our group we have some people like that. If we are talking about the people who are giving the behavioral training, you will always find that some participants will be giving you the feedback by saying that there should have been more participation, there should have been more role plays, there should have been more exercises. Boss, what exactly do you mean by this more? In a day of 4 sessions, you have given, let's say, 4 exercises. That means in each session, you have allocated 1 exercise, just a thought, just an example. But still people want more. That is good. But you have certain topics to cover. So even if the participants want more exercise, you will be deciding that what will be the time you are going to actually give for doing the exercise and explaining the exercise, explaining the objective of the exercise, and explaining the outcome of the exercise. And you have to talk about the outcome in the context of the objective of your training. Similarly, if you're talking about any technical training, if the very basic foundation training you are giving, you can afford to actually spend some more and more time on the basic funda of the training. But if it is an advanced level training, you cannot afford to talk about that. For example, if somebody wants an example between the difference between sales and marketing, when you are talking about handling difficult customers, just an example I'm giving, and you are allocated only one session, you feel like if you want to know the difference between sales and marketing, please go to Philip Kotler and read it. I'm just giving an example. No offense to anybody here. What I'm trying to tell here is how much time you're going to spend on the doubt to be cleared. Because there one person has given you the feedback, you will take the decision. But you cannot show your aggression. You cannot belittle the people. You cannot tell that your points are too trivial and I do not want to waste my time on these things. You have to create an environment where it is a positive environment where people will feel motivated to ask you further questions. And yet, you are the master of the session who is deciding how to run the show. If you will, you are the producer or the director of the show. You are taking the feedback from people, but eventually you are taking the last call. You are taking the last shot. So from my side, ladies and gentlemen, that is, I think, all about our second part, that is part B of paper 6, communication and presentation skill. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask me. Today is the last session allocated to me. Whatever syllabus was given to me, I have covered everything. Okay. If you have any question to ask in the chat box, or if you have any question to ask me verbally, I am there. We can spend 5 more minutes on this. Okay.
Ma'am, I do have a question, doubt regarding the assignment. Sorry. Stopping.
Yes, ma'am, if you could please help us with the assignment questions, a little bit guidance.
The question actually, the second question, it was there in communication and presentation skills, that after a successful training, a report is prepared to be sent to seniors as well as your
Okay, hold
as
on
well
a
as
second. Hold on a second. This is an assignment given
Yes,
to
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So this states that yes.
Go on.
Yeah. Second thing is the second question. Second part of the same question is important factors to be included in the report. But the third sub question of that is, how does this particular training has fostered the employee growth? So my question was, should the approach be based on the example and a case study? Means with the report question, that is the first and second question, wherein I have successful training to be prepared. That report, and second important factors to be considered, and third thing is, should we give an example and then say that how has it gone?
Yeah, that should be one of the ideal approaches actually to follow. Okay, but one caveat from my side, guys. This particular assignment, what you are saying, that's not part of my module. So whatever I'm saying, that is from my personal capacity, I'm telling, but not as a faculty who has covered that particular part. Okay, so if you take my suggestion, not advice, if you take my suggestion, I would say what you have said, that is one of the ideal approaches to go for. Okay, so you have combined the theoretical aspect of also, you have combined the example also. So very beautifully it will go. So nicely done. Yes. But again, it's a suggestion. Yeah.
No, experts give the better
You are
suggestion as per that.
you are the best judge, because you have gone through these modules from another faculty member. I cannot comment on that. But as an individual who is dealing with these sessions, yes, I think that is a good approach. Okay. What is the next question? Garima also you have mentioned, yeah. After a successful training, a report is prepared.
Ma'am, just put that the same question in the chat box so that you could read properly.
No, my take on all the assignments, okay, without getting into the questions, yeah, guys, I'm telling you, for your final exam or your assignments, just remember, ISTD's course is always about the practical approaches. We all are professionals. Therefore, while you are trying to justify your answer with the theoretical basis, also try to bring it with the real life example. So put the theoretical base in connection with the real life example. That will be the best way of answering. Because that is what we all do, including myself. We all are professionals. And when we are dealing with this kind of presentation situation or training situation, that's exactly we do. We apply the theoretical base in a real life situation. So your exam, your assignment, whatever comes in your way, this is the best way of dealing. Yeah. Any other question?
No question.
No? Anybody else, guys? No? Okay.
Madam, any particular important aspects of the portion that you have covered, which will be practically beneficial for us to revisit, and also from the examination point of view, from the points that you have covered or the sessions that you have covered?
Jigar, my take always will be like this. Whatever questions will be asked, always use the theoretical base in a real life situation. This is what I have been telling. Okay, so don't worry about only theory. As a professional, when you are writing the exam, look at the question and try to connect the question with a real life example. That is going to give you the best answer. Okay, it is not committing into memory or vomiting into paper. It never used to be. This is a working professionals course, therefore treated like that. Yeah.
Okay, sure, ma'am. Yeah, sure.
Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. So today we are ending our session. If you have any question, any doubt to clarify, you can ask ISTD people. They will be giving you my email ID and you can share your question and thought with me. I'll be more than happy to assist you. Okay.
Ma'am, humble
Thank
request.
you, madam.
Right.
Ma'am, the
Thank you, guys.
presentation slides were uploaded, but we were not able to access it.
Baba, that you have to check with ISTD people. Check
Okay.
with Usha madam, because they are the people who are actually dealing with this. I have already shared the slides. Okay. Right. Thank you, guys. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
madam. Bye.